Dr. Lisa Morrison stared at the computer screen, her coffee growing cold beside her keyboard. The numbers didn't make sense, but they were real. The quantum readings from their latest test had broken every known law of physics, and she couldn't stop smiling about it. "Paul, you need to see this," she called out to her research partner. Paul Bennett looked up from his workstation across the quantum propulsion laboratory, his tired eyes showing curiosity behind his glasses. The Nevada desert stretched endlessly outside their facility windows, its morning heat already building. Inside, the air conditioning hummed steadily as Paul walked over, his footsteps echoing in the large room filled with expensive equipment. "What am I looking at?" he asked, leaning over Lisa's shoulder to examine the data. "The impossible," she replied, pointing to a specific set of readings. "Our test particle didn't just move from point A to point B. It existed in both places at once, then chose its location after we stopped observing it." Paul's eyes widened as he processed the information. That shouldn't be possible. The energy requirements alone would be minimal. Lisa finished his sentence. It used less power than a household microwave. The discovery had started 3 months ago, when their team noticed strange patterns in their quantum tunneling experiments. They had been trying to develop better engines for space travel, something that could get humans to Mars faster than conventional rockets. Instead, they had stumbled upon something far more significant. Lisa pulled up another screen showing a 3D model of their test chamber. "Look at the particle's path. It's not moving through space in any way we understand. It's like it's taking a shortcut through something else." Paul sat down heavily in a nearby chair, running his hands through his graying hair. "We need to run more tests. Multiple trials, different particles, varying distances." "Already ahead of you," Lisa said, clicking through to another set of data. "I've been here since 4 a.m. Every test shows the same thing. We're not just breaking the rules of physics, we're finding out they weren't complete to begin with." Over the next few hours, they repeated their experiments under increasingly controlled conditions. Each test confirmed their initial findings. By late afternoon, their small lab team had gathered around the main display screen, watching in stunned silence as particle after particle demonstrated the impossible. "We should inform the board," one of the junior researchers suggested. Lisa shook her head. "Not yet. We need to understand this better first. If we're right about this, it changes everything we know about space travel, about physics itself." As the sun set over the desert, casting long shadows through the lab windows, Lisa and Paul remained at their stations, running simulations based on their new data. The implications were staggering. If they could scale up the effect. "Lisa," Paul called out suddenly, his voice tense. "You need to see this." She walked over to his station, where a new simulation was running. Paul had scaled up their calculations to show what would happen if they applied their discovery to a larger object, say, the size of a small spacecraft. "According to these numbers," he explained, "we could send something the size of a car to Alpha Centauri in less than a second." Lisa leaned closer to the screen, her heart racing, without any acceleration. No G-forces. None. It's like folding space itself. The object would exist here, then there, with nothing in between. They worked through the night, refining their calculations and running more simulations. As the first light of dawn began to paint the sky, they had a preliminary theory that explained their observations. The universe, it seemed, had more layers than anyone had imagined. Unknown to them, high above Earth's atmosphere, an automated sensor array belonging to the Galactic Council picked up unusual energy signatures from their lab. The signatures matched no known pattern in the Council's vast database of scientific achievements from thousands of civilizations. Deep in space, a priority alert was automatically generated and sent to the Council's science division. The next morning, Lisa arrived early at the lab again, her mind too excited with possibilities to allow for much sleep. She found Paul already there, surrounded by printouts and empty coffee cups. "I think we're ready," he said as she walked in. We need to try this with something bigger than particles. Lisa nodded, pulling up the safety protocols on her computer. The micro-scale testing chamber is ready. We can start with something small, maybe a marble. They spent the morning preparing for the test, double and triple checking every measurement and safety precaution. By noon, they had a small glass marble secured in their testing chamber, with sensors surrounding it on all sides. Recording started, Paul announced, his finger hovering over the activation switch. Ready? Lisa took a deep breath, checking the readings one final time. Ready. The marble disappeared from its starting position the instant Paul pressed the button. For a fraction of a second, their sensors showed it existing in two places at once, its starting point and its designated destination 2 meters away. Then it stabilized, sitting perfectly still at its target location. The lab erupted in cheers. They had just transported solid matter without it moving through the space between points A and B. It was the first macro-scale demonstration of their discovery, and it worked perfectly. As they celebrated, none of them noticed the small anomaly in their background readings. For a brief moment, reality itself had flickered, creating a tiny ripple in the fabric of space-time that spread outward from Earth at faster-than-light speeds. In the Galactic Council's monitoring station, alarms began to sound. Over the next week, Lisa and Paul's team worked tirelessly to document and understand their breakthrough. They successfully transported larger and larger objects, each test confirming their theory about the nature of space and movement. "We need to write this up," Lisa said one evening, looking at their collected data. "The implications for space travel alone." Paul nodded, but his expression was thoughtful. "Lisa, have you considered that maybe this is why we've never been contacted by alien civilizations? Maybe this discovery is some kind of threshold that every advanced species reaches, and maybe there's a reason we haven't seen anyone using it." Lisa paused in her typing. "You think it might be dangerous?" "I think it's powerful," Paul replied carefully. "And anything this powerful needs to be handled responsibly." They decided to proceed with caution, but their excitement made it hard to move slowly. Each new test brought new discoveries, new possibilities. They were pushing the boundaries of known physics, and the universe was responding in ways they never expected. What they didn't know was that their work had already attracted attention. The Galactic Council's Science Division had been monitoring Earth's technological development for centuries, and this sudden leap forward had set off every warning system they had. As Lisa and Paul prepared for their largest test yet, the transportation of a small drone. A council ship was already entering the solar system, its crew deeply concerned about the anomalies they had detected from Earth. The morning of the drone test arrived with a sense of anticipation in the lab. If successful, it would prove their technology could handle complex electronic systems, bringing them one step closer to their dream of revolutionary space travel. "All systems check out," Paul reported, running through their pre-test protocols. "Power levels are stable, quantum field is aligned, and the drone's diagnostics are green." Lisa nodded, her fingers flying over her keyboard as she made final adjustments. Starting recording. "Now, let's make history." The drone vanished from the testing chamber with a soft pop. For an instant, their sensors showed it existing in multiple locations throughout the room before it materialized perfectly at its target coordinates, hovering steadily. "It works," Lisa exclaimed, checking the drone systems. "Everything's functioning normally. No damage, no data loss. Perfect transition." But their celebration was cut short by a sudden, sharp beeping from their atmospheric monitors. Paul rushed to check the readings, his face growing pale. "Lisa," he said quietly, "you need to see these background radiation levels. Something's happening to local spacetime. It's like we're leaving ripples in reality itself." Before they could discuss the implications of this discovery, their phones began buzzing with urgent messages. The facility's security system had detected multiple unauthorized vehicles approaching at high speed. High above, hidden from Earth's detection systems, the Council ship prepared to make its presence known. Humanity's age of isolation was about to end, not with a celebration of achievement, but with a warning about forces they had only begun to understand. Captain Christopher Hayes stood on the bridge of the U.S. Hyperion, his heart racing with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The experimental ship represented humanity's first real attempt to use the Morrison-Bennett drive, named after its inventors. The vessel looked unlike any other spacecraft ever built by humans, with its smooth, oval shape and the strange quantum rings that surrounded its hull. "All systems are go, Captain," reported his chief engineer from the control station. "The drive is showing green across all indicators." The test was taking place in a remote area of space just beyond the Moon's orbit. Several conventional ships floated nearby, ready to assist if anything went wrong. On Earth, Lisa Morrison and Paul Bennett watched from mission control, their months of work finally ready for a full-scale test. "Remember, Captain," Lisa's voice came through the comm system, "the jump should be instantaneous. You won't feel any movement at all." Chris took a deep breath and nodded, even though she couldn't see him. "Understood, Doctor." Beginning countdown for first spatial displacement test. The bridge crew worked with focused precision, each person double-checking their stations. This wasn't just another space flight. This was humanity's first attempt to bend the rules of reality itself. "Drive powering up," the engineer announced. "Quantum field stable. Ready for jump in 10 seconds. Chris gripped his chair's armrests. "All hands, brace for displacement." The countdown reached 0. There was no sensation of movement, no flash of light, no sound. One moment they were near the Moon, and the next. "Position confirmed," the navigation officer called out excitedly. "We're in Mars orbit, exactly at the targeted coordinates." A journey that should have taken months had happened in less than a second. The bridge erupted in cheers, but their celebration was cut short by an urgent alert from their sensors. "Captain, multiple unknown objects just appeared around us," the sensor operator reported, her voice tense. They're huge." 3 massive ships had materialized nearby, each one easily dwarfing the Hyperion. Their design was clearly alien, with crystalline structures that seemed to defy normal engineering principles. Before anyone could react, a transmission cut through all their communication channels. The voice spoke perfect English, though there was an odd musical quality to it. "Human vessel, this is High Counselor Zixtal of the Galactic Council Science Division. You are ordered to power down your drive system immediately. You are violating multiple Class 1 prohibitions regarding reality manipulation technology." Chris shared a worried look with his crew before responding. "This is Captain Christopher Hayes of the U.S. Hyperion. We were unaware of any prohibitions. We're on a peaceful research mission. Your ignorance of the law does not excuse its violation," the alien voice replied. "Your species has developed technology far beyond your understanding of its consequences. Stand down and prepare to be boarded." In mission control, Lisa and Paul watched the situation unfold with growing concern. Everything they had worked for was suddenly being threatened by beings they hadn't even known existed. The situation grew more complex when another voice joined the conversation. "This is Ambassador Catherine Martinez. I've been authorized to speak for Earth in this matter." The newly appointed diplomat had been rushed to mission control the moment the alien ships appeared. "Ambassador," Zixtal responded, "your species has developed technology that threatens the very fabric of reality. The ripples from your experiments have already caused disturbances in several nearby star systems." Catherine maintained her composure as she replied, "With respect, High Counselor, we're willing to discuss these concerns, but we won't simply abandon our research without understanding the specific dangers you're referring to." The alien ships maintained their position around the Hyperion, their presence both beautiful and threatening. Through the bridge windows, Chris could see their crystalline surfaces shimmer with strange energies. "Your drive system," Zixtal explained, "creates microfractures in spacetime. Small-scale tests might seem harmless, but continued use of this technology could lead to cascading reality failures. We've seen it happen before." In mission control, Paul turned to Lisa. That would explain the background radiation patterns we detected. We were seeing reality itself protest against our manipulation. The next few hours turned into a tense negotiation. The Galactic Council delegation, led by Zixtal, agreed to meet with Earth representatives aboard a neutral station that they quickly assembled between Mars and the Hyperion's position. Ambassador Martinez led the human delegation, accompanied by Lisa, Paul, and Captain Hayes. They entered a room that seemed to bend and twist around them, its architecture following rules they couldn't quite understand. Zixtal turned out to be a tall, ethereal being that seemed to shimmer between different forms. "Your species has achieved something remarkable," they said, their tone softer in person. "But you've stumbled onto one of the most dangerous technologies in the universe. Then help us understand it," Lisa proposed. "Work with us instead of just shutting us down. Surely there must be safe applications of this technology." The alien leader's form flickered thoughtfully. "The Council has strict protocols about sharing advanced physics knowledge with developing civilizations. Your species has barely begun exploring your own solar system. Yet we discovered this technology independently," Catherine pointed out. "Doesn't that suggest we're ready to understand it?" The discussion continued for hours. The humans learned that the Galactic Council had governed space travel and scientific research for thousands of years, maintaining strict controls on technologies that could threaten universal stability. "We cannot allow unlimited use of reality manipulation technology," Zixtal finally declared. "However, we might be willing to establish a supervised research program, under Council oversight." It wasn't the complete shutdown they had feared, but neither was it the free reign humanity had hoped for. As they discussed the details, Chris noticed something odd about the alien leader's reactions to their technical questions. "You don't fully understand how our drive works, do you?" he asked suddenly, causing everyone to fall silent. Zixtal's form rippled with what might have been discomfort. "We understand its dangers. That is sufficient." Lisa leaned forward, her scientific curiosity piqued. "Our approach to quantum manipulation is different from anything you've seen before, isn't it? That's why our energy signatures didn't match anything in your database." The alien leader's response was interrupted by an urgent message from one of their ships. Strange energy readings were emanating from Earth. More experiments were being conducted even as they spoke. "This discussion is over," Zixtal announced. "You will cease all reality manipulation research immediately, or we will be forced to take more direct action." As the humans were escorted back to their ship, Catherine whispered to Lisa and Paul, "Keep working. Something about this situation doesn't add up. They're too worried about technology they claim to understand so well." The Hyperion was allowed to return to Earth, but now under the watch of Galactic Council ships that took up position around the planet. Humanity had made first contact with alien life, but instead of celebration, they faced a choice: submit to Council authority or risk a confrontation with forces they barely understood. Back in their lab, Lisa and Paul looked at their data with new eyes. "They're hiding something," Lisa said quietly, "and I think our discovery might be bigger than even we realized." Paul nodded, already pulling up new simulations. "Then we'd better figure out what it is before they decide to stop asking nicely." Above them, the alien ships glittered in the night sky, a constant reminder that humanity was no longer alone, and no longer free to explore the universe's mysteries without supervision. 2 months after the confrontation with the Galactic Council, Dr. Lisa Morrison walked through an underground tunnel deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The facility around her hummed with hidden activity, its existence unknown to almost everyone on Earth, and more importantly, to the alien ships still watching from orbit. "The new lab is almost ready," said Steve Collins, their lead engineer, as he guided her through the reinforced doorway. "We've lined everything with special materials to hide our energy signatures." The underground complex was a marvel of secret engineering. After the Council's threats, several nations had quietly agreed to continue the research in hidden facilities across the globe. This was just one of many. Major Amanda Wright, their military liaison, waited for them in the main lab. She stood next to a large screen showing various security feeds from above ground. "The Council's ships haven't changed their patrol patterns," she reported. "They still think we've shut everything down." Lisa nodded, setting her laptop on a nearby desk. "Good, because what we've discovered in the past week changes everything." She pulled up her latest data, showing it to Steve and Amanda. The numbers and graphs meant little to the Major, but Steve's eyes widened as he understood their meaning. "This can't be right," he said, leaning closer to the screen. "According to this, the Council's understanding of quantum physics is primitive compared to what we figured out." "Exactly," Lisa replied. "They're not stopping us because our technology is dangerous. They're stopping us because we've discovered something they don't want anyone to know." In another part of the facility, Paul Bennett was working with a team of physicists on a smaller version of their drive system. They had learned from their earlier tests and were now able to create devices that produced almost no detectable energy signature. "The key," Paul explained to his team, "is that we're not actually breaking the laws of physics. We're working with laws that have always existed but nobody understood before." The team worked around the clock, making breakthrough after breakthrough. Without the constraints of public oversight or council interference, they were free to explore the true potential of their discovery. One morning, about 3 weeks into their underground work, Steve burst into Lisa's office. "You need to see this," he said, excitement clear in his voice. "We found something incredible." He led her to a testing chamber where a small metal cube sat on a platform. "Watch," he said, activating their latest prototype device. The cube didn't just disappear and reappear like their earlier tests. Instead, it seemed to exist in multiple places at once, completely stable and controllable. "We're not just moving things through space," Steve explained. "We're learning to control how objects interact with reality itself." Major Wright, watching from the observation room, immediately saw the military implications. "If we can do this with a cube," she said, "imagine what we could do with a ship. The Council's surveillance would be useless." But Lisa was thinking beyond military applications. "This proves our theory," she said. "The universe doesn't work the way the Council thinks it does. Their understanding is based on old, limited ideas." As their work progressed, similar breakthroughs were happening in hidden facilities around the world. In the Australian outback, scientists had discovered how to mask their energy signatures completely. Beneath the Sahara Desert, another team had developed a way to detect Council ships even when they were trying to hide. Paul coordinated with these other facilities through heavily encrypted channels. "Every discovery we make shows us how much the Council doesn't know," he told Lisa during one of their late-night research sessions. "But it also shows us why they might be so afraid." The power they were learning to control was enormous. They could now create stable points where different aspects of reality overlapped, something the Council had apparently never managed to achieve. One day, as Lisa was reviewing data from their latest tests, an alert came from the surface sensors. "Council ship approaching," Major Wright announced over the intercom. "New pattern. They might be getting suspicious." Everyone in the facility held their breath as the alien vessel passed overhead. Their shielding held. The Council's scans showed nothing but empty rock. "That was too close," Steve said after the all-clear was given. "We need to be more careful." But being careful didn't mean slowing down. If anything, the close call made them work harder. They knew it was only a matter of time before the Council realized what was happening. Lisa spent hours studying the readings they'd gathered from the Council ships. "Their technology is advanced," she told her team, "but it's like they're stuck following an old textbook. They never questioned the basic assumptions about how reality works." In a secure conference room, representatives from various governments met to discuss the progress. Ambassador Martinez, who had maintained her role as Earth's official contact with the Council, delivered a worrying report. "They're getting impatient," she said. "They want to inspect our research facilities to verify we've stopped all work on the drive system. We can't stall them much longer." Major Wright stood up. "Then we need to be ready before they figure it out. How close are we to a working prototype of the new system? Steve pulled up the latest test results. We can have a ship-sized version ready in 2 weeks. But there's something else you need to know. He showed them data from their reality monitoring systems. The more they used their technology, the more they could see strange patterns in the fabric of space-time. Patterns that suggested the Council's own ships were causing more damage than anything humans had done. They're not just wrong about how reality works, Lisa explained. They're actively causing problems by using their technology the wrong way. And they don't even realize it. As the meeting ended, Paul pulled Lisa aside. "We need to tell them," he said. "The Council needs to know what their ships are doing to space-time." Lisa shook her head. "They wouldn't believe us. And they might do something drastic if they realize how much we've learned. We need to be ready first." In the labs below, work continued around the clock. They were building something new now, not just a drive system, but a way to prove that humanity's understanding of physics had surpassed that of the Galactic Council. Above them, hidden in the mountains, automated sensors watched the alien ships continue their patrols. The Council's representatives still believed they had stopped humanity from developing dangerous technology. They had no idea that deep underground, humans were about to change everything they thought they knew about reality itself. The first sign that something was wrong came from a small research station on Mars. The automated facility reported strange readings in the space around it. Reality itself seemed to be becoming unstable. Chief Physicist Daniel Carter stared at the data streaming in from the red planet, his face growing more concerned by the minute. "It's not us causing this," he told Lisa Morrison over their secure communication line. The distortions matched the energy signature of the Council ships perfectly. In their underground facility, Lisa watched the measurements with growing alarm. The Council's constant patrols around Earth, using their flawed understanding of physics, were creating exactly the kind of damage they had accused humans of risking. "We need to move now," Steve Collins said, looking up from his own screens. "The new drive system is ready, and these readings show we don't have much time left." Above them, in orbit around Earth, the Council ships continued their patrol, unaware that their very presence was causing the problem they feared most. Commander Angsvar, newly arrived from the Council's military division, had doubled the number of ships watching Earth. The situation reached a breaking point when a Council ship near Jupiter reported seeing double for a few seconds, not through any sensor malfunction, but because a small piece of space-time had actually split into 2 separate versions of reality. High Counselor Zixtal called an emergency meeting. The humans must be continuing their experiments in secret, they declared to the gathered Council leaders. "We have no choice but to intervene directly." But before they could act, alarms started blaring across their fleet. Reality distortions were appearing all around their ships, growing stronger by the minute. Commander Angsvar ordered an immediate attack on all known human research facilities. Deep underground, Major Amanda Wright received the warning from their surface sensors. Multiple Council ships approaching, weapons hot. She announced over the facility's speakers. "They're targeting everything that looks like it might be a research center." Lisa and her team rushed to their stations. The moment they had prepared for had arrived sooner than expected, but they were ready. "Launch the probes," she ordered. Small, unmanned devices, built with their new understanding of physics, shot out from hidden silos around the world. Each one carried instruments that could measure and demonstrate exactly what was happening to local space-time. The Council ships opened fire, their energy weapons striking the Earth's surface. But they hit only empty buildings, decoys that had been prepared months ago. The real work, and the real people, remained safely hidden underground. In orbit, Commander Angsvar watched with growing frustration as their attacks hit nothing of importance. Then something strange began to happen to their sensors. The probes launched by the humans were creating a visible map of reality distortions in space, and every distortion traced back to the Council's ships. "Impossible," Angsvar muttered, watching the evidence appear on their screens. But they couldn't deny what they were seeing. Lisa's voice broadcast across all frequencies, reaching every council ship in the solar system. Your weapons and your ships are based on an incomplete understanding of physics, she announced. Every time you use them, you damage the very fabric of space-time. We can prove it. The probes were transmitting their data to every ship in range, showing in clear, simple terms how the Council's technology was affecting reality. More importantly, they demonstrated how human technology, based on their new understanding, caused no such damage. Daniel Carter, working from another hidden facility, added his own explanation. We're not breaking the laws of physics, he said. We're working with the real laws, the complete ones that you never discovered. In their ships, Council scientists began to analyze the human data. At first, they tried to deny it, but the evidence was too clear. Their own instruments, now that they knew what to look for, confirmed everything the humans were showing them. High Counselor Zixtal watched in silence as centuries of Council certainty about physics began to crumble. The humans hadn't just matched their level of technology, they had surpassed it, finding the flaws that the Council had been too set in their ways to see. But Commander HFY wasn't ready to accept defeat. This changes nothing, they declared. The humans are still a threat to universal stability. We must stop them now, before they spread this dangerous knowledge to other species. The commander ordered their ships to power up their main weapons, preparing for a full attack. But something unexpected happened. As their weapons charged, reality itself seemed to rebel. The space around their ships began to twist and bend in ways their sensors couldn't understand. In the underground facility, Steve Collins monitored the situation. Their weapons are making it worse, he reported. The reality distortions are feeding back into their systems. Lisa knew they had to act fast to prevent a disaster. She activated their new drive system, installed in a small fleet of unmanned ships hidden beneath the lunar surface. The ships appeared around the Council fleet in an instant, but instead of attacking, they created a stable field that contained and canceled out the growing reality distortions. We can help you, Lisa broadcast to the Council ships. We know how to fix your technology, how to make it safe, but you have to stop attacking and listen. For a tense moment, it seemed like Commander HFY would order their ships to fire anyway. But High Counselor Zixtal intervened, their voice carrying the weight of scientific authority. Stand down, they ordered. The humans are right. Look at the evidence. Everything they're showing us explains anomalies we've been seeing for centuries but never understood. The Council ships powered down their weapons. In the space around them, reality began to stabilize as the human devices corrected the damage caused by their flawed technology. Through it all, Paul Bennett had been quietly monitoring from another facility. He sent Lisa a private message. They're starting to understand, but this is just the beginning. He was right. The crisis had been averted, but now came the harder part, teaching the Council, and through them the rest of the galaxy, that everything they thought they knew about physics needed to be reconsidered. As the Council ships stood down and reality stabilized, Lisa looked at the data flowing across her screens. Humanity had proven itself not by fighting, but by understanding the universe better than those who had been exploring it for thousands of years longer. Send them everything, she told her team. All our research, all our discoveries. It's time they learned what we figured out. Above them, the Council ships hung motionless in space, their crews beginning to study the vast database of human physics research. The universe, they were learning, was far stranger and more wonderful than they had ever imagined. 1 month after the reality crisis, the underground facility had changed completely. Where once humans worked in secret, now scientists from across the galaxy walked the halls. Dr. Mary Peterson, a former Council scientist who had been one of the first to understand the humans' breakthrough, worked side by side with Lisa Morrison and her team. It's amazing how simple it seems once you see it, Mary said, watching a demonstration of their latest prototype. The small device created a perfect bubble of stable space-time, something the Council had never managed to achieve. Lisa nodded, still somewhat surprised by how quickly things had changed. Sometimes the hardest part is letting go of what you think you know. In orbit above Earth, the Council ships remained, but their purpose had changed. Instead of watching for violations, they were being retrofitted with new systems based on human understanding of physics. Steve Collins supervised the work, teaching alien engineers how to modify their technology. The basic principles are the same, he explained to a group of Council technicians. You just need to account for the deeper layers of reality we discovered. Paul Bennett had taken on the role of lead instructor at what they now called the Joint Physics Institute. Scientists from hundreds of worlds came to learn the new physics that humans had uncovered. The institute occupied the former underground facility, now expanded and open to the sky above. The universe doesn't care what we think its rules should be, Paul told his diverse class of students. It works the way it works. Our job is to understand it, not force it to match our expectations. Ambassador Catherine Martinez stood in her new office at the Galactic Council headquarters, looking out at the strange alien city that stretched before her. Earth had been granted full membership in the Council, with some unique privileges. After all, it's not every day that a primitive species revolutionizes the understanding of physics for an entire galaxy. The integration is going better than expected, she told Major Amanda Wright over a secure channel. Most species are eager to learn. A few are still resistant, but they're coming around. The Major had taken charge of coordinating the safety protocols for the new technology. Her experience in keeping the research secret now helped her teach others how to use it responsibly. The key is respecting the power we're working with, she explained to a group of security officers from various worlds. This isn't just about moving through space anymore. It's about understanding our place in reality itself. Daniel Carter's team had made another breakthrough in their studies. They discovered that the universe had natural safety mechanisms, ways it protected itself from serious damage. The Council's old technology had been fighting against these mechanisms, while human methods worked with them. Look at this, he said, showing Lissa a simulation of how reality responded to different approaches. The universe wants to stay stable. We just need to stop trying to force it to do things our way. High Counselor Zixtal, who had once threatened to stop human research, now found themselves learning from their former suspects. They stood in the main laboratory, their form shifting with what seemed like embarrassment. We were so certain we knew everything important about physics, they admitted to Lisa. It never occurred to us that a younger species might see things we had missed. The changes spread far beyond just space travel. Understanding the deeper laws of physics led to breakthroughs in energy production, medicine, and even agriculture. Problems that had plagued civilizations for millennia suddenly had solutions. Steve walked through a field where plants grew in carefully maintained reality bubbles, each one perfectly adapted to its native world's conditions. We can grow food from any planet anywhere, he explained to a group of visitors. The applications just keep growing. In their private moments, Lisa and Paul sometimes talked about how differently things could have gone. If the Council had chosen to respond with full military force, or if humans had used their discoveries as weapons, the galaxy might have been torn apart. We're lucky, Paul said during one such conversation. Lucky that enough people on both sides wanted to understand rather than fight. Lisa looked at the stars through their new quantum telescope, which could see deeper into space than any previous device. Lucky, yes, but also ready. We proved ourselves not by being powerful, but by being right. The quantum communications network, based on human principles, now connected worlds that had once been months of travel apart. Ideas and knowledge flowed freely between civilizations that had previously known nothing of each other. Mary Peterson worked with a team of xenobiologists, using the new understanding of physics to study life itself. Everything in the universe is connected, she explained to Lisa. We just needed the right tools to see the connections. Ambassador Martinez received word that another group of worlds had requested membership in the Council, drawn by the new physics being taught there. The galaxy is changing, she told her staff, and Earth helped start that change. In the skies above every Council world, ships now moved without damaging the fabric of reality. The old fears about reality manipulation had been replaced by a deeper understanding of how the universe actually worked. Major Wright oversaw the graduation of the first class of Joint Human-Alien Security Officers. Remember, she told them, our job isn't to control this power, but to understand it and help others use it safely. As the sun set on another busy day of the Institute, Lisa found herself looking at the small glass marble that had been their first macro-scale test subject. She kept it on her desk as a reminder. From this to changing the galaxy, she mused, holding it up to the light. All because we were willing to question what everyone thought was impossible. Paul joined her, carrying the latest results from their ongoing research. We're still just beginning, he said. There's so much more to learn. In orbit, Earth glowed with the lights of a civilization that had found its place among the stars. Ships from 100 worlds moved smoothly through carefully maintained spaces in reality, their crews no longer afraid of damaging the universe they traveled through. The old council ships, once used to watch and threaten Earth, had been transformed. Now they carried students and scientists between worlds, their modified drives working in harmony with the natural laws of space-time. Daniel Carter's team had started working on an even more ambitious project, trying to understand not just how reality worked, but why. Every answer leads to new questions, he told Lisa, exactly as it should be. As night fell over the Institute, lights stayed on in laboratories and classrooms where beings from across the galaxy worked together to explore the true nature of their universe. They had moved beyond the war of realities to something far more important, a shared quest for understanding. Lisa looked at her original notes from those first experiments, now preserved in the Institute's museum. We thought we were just making a better space drive, she said to Paul. He smiled, watching the stars appear in the darkening sky. Instead, we helped the galaxy understand itself a little better. Above them, reality remained stable and whole, no longer strained by flawed technology. The universe, it seemed, had been waiting for someone to finally understand its deeper truths.